new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Welcome back to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I am entertainment writer Jim Hill, and Mr. Taylor, whose writings in the industry you can regularly read over on The Wrap, and whose musings on the Mission Impossible movies you can still listen to over on Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. He and I are recording this week's show on Sunday, July 19th, 2026. And Drew, at this point, if I'm doing the math right, it's been a year and a month since K-Pop Demon Hunters debuted on Netflix back on, June 25th, 2025? Is that correct?
That's it. Still going strong. I don't know if you saw the Netflix numbers for this week, but...
Yeah, crazy. Well, first of all, what is it? It is now officially the most popular film ever available for downloading on that streaming platform. But you learned, coming up fast behind K-Pop Demon Hunters is Swapped, right? The animated body swap comedy.
I think that Swapped had 131 million views in this half of the year, and K-pop had 130. But what's exciting about Swapped is that it's already the number 2 most watched animated original on the Netflix platform, and very soon, like in a matter of weeks, it will become one of the top 10 watched titles ever on Netflix. So pretty impressive. Again, like K-pop, didn't have much of a marketing or promotion budget, kind of just was dropped on the service, and people saw it and responded to it. And yeah, we'll be talking about Swapped a little bit later on in the show. That's right. That Drew got the opportunity to sit down with the director of that film, Nathan Greno. And, again, Nathan not only talked about working on Swap, but likewise Tangled and a couple of projects at Disney that didn't quite see the light of day, right? Correct. The original American Dog and Gigantic. So can't wait for that. But that's later on in today's show. But before we get to that, as well as the rest of the animation-related news from the past week, we, of course, have to mention our sponsor, which is unlockmagic.com, where you can save upwards of 12% off of theme park tickets. So if a Disney or Universal trip is something that you're seriously considering for the late summer or early fall of 2026, let Unlock Magic help you lock in great ticket prices without the stress. Unlock Magic has people on staff there that really know the parks. More importantly, know how to save you money. Again, go to Unlock Magic if you want to grab the very best ticket deals and make your next trip down to Florida just a little bit more magical. So, all right, now to pivot to this past weekend's box office. Christopher Nolan's movie version of Homer's The Odyssey it's dominated the box office both here and abroad. And if the estimated ticket sales are correct, what is it? It's 124 million here in North America, an additional 140 million overseas. So, what is it? Worldwide box office for this
R-rated 2-hour and 52-minute long film is $264 million. That's $250 million. I haven't managed to see the movie yet myself, Drew, but you have?
Of course. I got to see it in beautiful 70-millimeter IMAX, one of 26 locations in the entire country where you can see it in that format.
That this is the way that Nolan intended it to be seen, correct?
Sure. I mean, I think any way you see it, you're going to get swept away, but this was at the City Walk IMAX, which is, his preferred IMAX theater. This is where he goes to test his movies. Oh, wow. So, cool. All right. Yeah, it was an exceptional experience. I loved it. Yeah, I just this thing is going to play for weeks and weeks as people finally get their tickets to their IMAX screening of choice, and yeah, it's just exciting that there's a movie for adults without a superhero or any. It's not a sequel. It's not a reboot. It's just a new take on classic source material, and I think you will love it, Jim. Whenever you get to see it, I know you're waiting for cheap night to go, but
Well, no, I mean, trying to make it fit into the schedule. Remember, I live out in the woods, and IMAX around here is, somebody throws up a bed sheet. Quick question. Did I hear correctly? It's outside of the Universal City Walk where they actually have the Trojan horse prop. Is that where that wound up?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a screen use prop because I've seen there are a few of them. There's one outside of Lincoln Center in New York, which is another amazing IMAX theater. But yeah, it's in the City Walk. It's towering. It's got the two greatest feats of human engineering in one place, Jim: the Trojan horse and the steampunk chocolate-themed restaurant in the same. You can gaze upon both of them in the same.
Oh, I'm sure the folks behind Toothsome would love to hear you say that.
Absolutely.
But, okay. That said, though, I did, in fact, get out this past week to see Disney's live-action Moana, which was fine. I mean, it's good looking. It's professionally made. And again, it's a live action version of Walt Disney Animation Studios' November 2016 release, and it also was number 2 at the box office this past weekend. Did $19 million worth of ticket sales here in North America, and that is a 70% fall off in business from the opening weekend for their live action Moana. And so they've done, $82 million in business in that territory to date. And Drew, I'm sure you saw a lot of the very same stories I did this past week about, everyone sort of moaning about Disney's misfortune in the live action remake and animated film space, and they were talking about the potential $100 million loss that the company's supposed to take on the live action Moana, not to mention, and people then use that as an excuse to sort of pivot back and look at Snow White, which remember came out in March of 2025, and how that one also didn't do all that well at the box office and was a loss. But here's the weird part. Disney corporate doesn't necessarily seem to be buying into the whole doom and gloom when it comes to the live action version of its animated films. I mean, again, Lilo and Stitch last summer did over $1 billion, and Chris Andrews, who had already been tapped to write the sequel to that film, recently got hired to helm Lilo and Stitch 2. And again, I think we talked on the show about the live action version of Tangled that's either gearing up to begin shooting or has already started shooting in Spain. And then there's the news about Coleman Domingo and Robert O'Hara, who this past week the trades were reporting that they've been hired to write. Well, it's not necessarily a live-action version of Princess and the Frog, but potentially a continuation of the story. Did I read that right? Or
I don't know because I've heard both things that it's inspired by Tiana, star of Princess and the Frog. There were reports that it was an original story featuring her, but I've also heard that it is just a remake, straight ahead remake of Princess and the Frog, which makes more sense to me. I know that there are certain elements of that story that they are cagey about, particularly Dr. Facilier, but I don't know. I don't know what a Princess and the Frog story is without Dr. Facilier, because I think that's probably, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which has a startling lack of drama and tension to it. So I don't think that'll work exactly. And, but I don't know. I obviously, with the talent on hand, it's a very exciting proposition, but I don't know. The Tangled movie has started shooting. I saw some set photos of her actual hair in it, which is interesting. But I don't know. I saw like an article that was like, why do some of them work and some of them don't? And it's like, well, some of them are better than the other ones, Like, I don't think anyone would put Moana in the top tier of anything.
I mean, it's proficient. I mean, what's interesting, when you talk with folks at Disney right now, there is some after the fact grumbling to the effect of, if they had swapped the release schedule and put the live action Moana out ahead of the animated Moana 2, the belief is that would have done the business. Do you think that actually would have been the case, or? I
don't know. I mean, it's not like it would have made the live action movie any better. So, there is a Moana 3 in active development at Animation. There's been, bubblings of that recently, and there will be a full-on announcement at D23 in a few weeks. But I do wonder, Disney is all about the brand deposits and brand withdrawals, and I wonder how much of a brand withdrawal the response to this Moana live-action movie was, especially because a lot of the same people that made the animated movie made the live-action one. Jared co-wrote it, Dana co-wrote it, who then directed on Moana 2. Like, I don't know. It's all a part of the same milieu, so I don't know.
Yeah, and in fact, I was pleased to see, Eric Goldberg's name in the middle.
Yes.
He came back and, animated the tattoo again. So, but he's since relocated to the Midwest, right? That's where he and Susan retired to, or?
Yeah, the last time I talked to him, he needed better Wi-Fi, so I hope that that has been sorted out.
Okay. Just to circle back to the Princess and the Frog. I mean, I guess the other thing that kind of intrigues me about Princess and the Frog is that if you actually go back to when that film came out in November of 2009, didn't do all that great. I mean, it only did $104 million worth of business here in the States, and an additional $162 million overseas. So worldwide box office of $266 million, a $250 million. I mean, again, nothing to sneeze at, but when you compare that to how Tangled did just 1 year later, I mean, domestically, $200 million, so basically double what Princess and the Frog did in the States. And then overseas, even crazier business, $406 million. So it's that's $600 million plus worldwide. I mean, more than double what Princess and the Frog did. And some of that, again, I think, I remember you and I talking about this back in the day, that this was the start of the Disney titles that deliberately don't tell you it's a Disney princess musical, or for that matter, the ad campaigns that don't tell you it's a musical, and which, by the way, proved to be the right way to go because audiences showed up. I don't know. Pivoting back to this weekend's box office, the number 3 and 4 positions at the box office were held by animated films. Toy Story 5, 14.8 million in ticket sales in North America. And you were saying, Drew, that you had heard, if we factor in the overseas box office, they're now at what, 950?
958, I believe. But yeah, it is on track for 958 worldwide, 1.1 plus finish. So.
Wow. Okay. So, the 1.1's by Labor Day, but supposed to slide over the $1 billion barrier before August, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. On the other hand, Minions and Monsters also did 14.8. But that one has done 127 million domestically so far, 195 overseas. So that's a total of 323 million. And in talking with friends at Universal, they're, sort of working the math and figuring that we're going to run out of gas with this one at about $500 million, which is significantly south of what the other Despicable Me Minion films have made to date. So, just interesting to hear those folks talk about, why didn't this one connect? And, why isn't it doing more business? And I think we talked on last week's show about there's a lot of family-related stuff out there, but I think you were also pointing out not quite that much family.
No, I think that it might be more of a problem that the last Despicable Me movie was in 2024. There just has not been a lot of time in between movies, and I think that there's just a little bit of a franchise fatigue. You have to make sure to articulate what makes this one different besides just more Minions, and I think that was just something got lost in communication about that one.
By the way, on the heels of what you were saying on our last show, I actually went and sought out imagery of, Harold Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin, and Buster Keaton from Minions and Monsters, and they did a great job. I mean, I love the likenesses of those three screen comic legends that pop up in this film.
Imagine if you actually went and saw the movie, Jim.
I know.
You could see all of this.
I know. We'll try to, I'm kicking myself that I still haven't seen Toy Story 5 in theaters. That's again, how far behind the 8 ball I am at this point. On the other hand, I have been making a conscious effort to keep up on the Simpsons exclusives that were airing on Disney Plus this summer. We got the Extreme Makeover Homer edition that debuted on the streaming service on June 17th, and then there's the Simpsly, which bowed on July 3rd. And have you managed to see either of these, Drew? Or
no, I haven't. I saw they were up, but yeah, it's too much, Jim. And the new Ghost in the Shell on Prime Video is excellent. I've been going through my screeners of the new Batman: The Dark Knight, Batman Cape Crusader season, which is wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah, there's just too much, Jim.
Speaking of a Batman, actually, what's interesting about Extreme Makeover Homer Edition is they actually riff on the Joker movies. They have, Marge is imagining being married to two different versions of Homer. So there's one of them that riffs mightily on Tom Cruise's Top Gun films, and they do make a point of Homer having a full head of hair but being a full head shorter than previous. On the other hand, there's a lovely sort of Rock Hudson Madman like riff that in the middle of it has this amazing done in an music sequence done in an entirely different animation style, but there's this great cameo in there by Bleeding Gums Murphy, the old sax player that helped Lisa early on in the show, and likewise in the Joker vignette, there's a prison break, and in the middle of it, you get to see, Hank Scorpio, the Bond villain that what was it? Albert Brooks voiced for the show back in the early days of The Simpsons, and then of course the Simpsly. It's an extended riff on Matt Damon's The Talented Mr. Ripley from 1999, and I can't help but think that somebody at Disney, figuring that the Odyssey was going to be this enormous film for the summer of 2026, is like, yeah, let's drop that in July, the very same month that the Odyssey shows up. And by the way, again, there is one more exclusive coming on Disney Plus later this summer. That's going to be The Yellow Mirror, and that debuts on August 26th, just before Labor Day. And we're going to have even more animation-related news in a second, but first, this.
This summer, say I do.
I am marrying a stranger.
Like never before.
Am I crazy?
It's a whole new Married at First Sight on Peacock.
Thank God I woke up in love.
With new experts.
My name is Dr. Lisa.
My name's Paul Brunson.
More couples.
This could be the start of a very successful marriage.
And more surprises.
Or maybe not.
Everything is just not enough.
You're a little bit crazy.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I want my fairy tale ending.
Married at First Sight, now streaming. New episodes Thursdays, only on Peacock.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Hey guys, today I'm interviewing my cat about his Perfect Bistro food. Percy, you seem to be a big Perfect Bistro fan. Care to comment? Totally. What do you like about it? You love the high-quality ingredients? And the delicious flavors, of course. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Listen to Percy, guys. Visit perfectbistro.com to try it for your cat.
And we're back. Folks, one quick correction from last week's show. We mentioned in passing that Drew's new book, The Art of Wildwood, was being published by Rizzoli Universe on October 13th. And that was a mistake on my part. It turns out this 176-page hardcover is actually hitting store shelves a week earlier than that, October 6th. Of this year, 2026, and by the way, that's almost a full 2 weeks before Wildwood actually bows in theaters on October 23rd, and again, that's being released by Fathom Entertainment, right, Drew?
Yeah, just don't read it at the don't read the end of the book, Jim. I know you have a habit. Yeah.
I do. But speaking of art of books, wanted to talk up a wonderful new book that somehow got by us, or at least got by me. My daughter Alice pointed this out to me just recently. But this is Boisterous Beasts and Deadly Dragons: The Art of Nico Marlett. And you were saying, Drew, that you just got a copy of this book from Harry N. Abrams, right?
Yes, they sent me a lovely box with this and the Art of Cartoon Saloon book.
Yeah, I just got my copy of that as well. And folks, both of these are well worth seeking out if you're an animation history buff. I mean, just for example, Boisterous Beasts, to be able to look at Nico's work for, Balto and the original take on Monsters Inc. I think the only character that he designed for that made it in the film, Water News, is, I want to say that. I mean, yeah, okay.
He worked on the Paper Moon version of Monsters Inc. basically. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. But on the other hand, there's amazing stuff from the work he did on Kung Fu Panda. Likewise, How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, this is an amazing book. And on the other hand, Cartoon Saloon is basically a 25 history of the studio, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they have some very exciting things that are coming up that may or may not be announced at D23 in a few weeks. Let me just tease that. Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
By the way, the Boisterous Beats was written by Tracy Miller Zarnick, and I've literally got dozens of her animation-related books down in my reference library in the basement. And among those is The Art and Making of Hotel Transylvania from 2012. And speaking of that film franchise, this past week we learned that Sony Pictures Animation has a fifth Hotel Transylvania movie in the works, which not all that surprising to hear, given that series has made $1.3 billion since, again, the first Hotel Transylvania came out back in September of 2012. But what I thought was interesting, Drew, is that, all right, help me out here. Hotel Transylvania 4, also known as Hotel Transylvania Transformania, that was supposed to go out into theaters in October of 2001, but of course that's when the pandemic is disrupting exhibition, and so this is when Sony actually decides to sell off Hotel Transylvania to Amazon Studios. I want to say for $100 million. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and then the streaming service then makes Hotel Transylvania Transformania available to its subscribers starting in January of the following year, 2002. So what I find intriguing about Hotel Transylvania 5, which I guess also is out there under the name The Haunting of Hotel Transylvania, I guess there had to have been some language in there in regard to that 2021 deal to sell off Hotel Transylvania for the distribution rights to Amazon, that had to have mentioned future installments of the series, because it's worth noting that while Sony is going to be handling Hotel Transylvania 5 when it's released to theaters in North America on October 8th, 2027, it's Amazon MGM Studios, and by the way, I know that name is different. Amazon changed its name to Amazon MGM Studios in March of 2002 when that streaming service bought that legendary film studio for $8.5 billion. And as part of that acquisition, Amazon got the bulk of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's film library. I want to say that was over 4,000 movies and some 17,000 episodes of television. Anyway, so it's Amazon MGM Studios that will be distributing The Haunting of Hotel Transylvania overseas next year. And by the way, we've talked about this on Fine Tuning previously, but 2027, not that we didn't have animated sequels in 2026, but next year, we've got Ice Age Boiling Point that drops on February 5th. And by the way, the original Ice Age debuted in theaters nearly 25 years ago on March 15th, 2002, whereas Frozen 3, that's slated to go wide on November 24th, 2027. Before I forget, speaking of Frozen 3, friend of the show, Josh Gad, actually got a call out in the Extreme Makeover Homer edition, and also wanted to point out that the poster dropped for Spaceballs, the new one, this past week. Did you see that, Drew? Or
yeah, the teaser poster. Yeah, and did you see that? Unlike the first movie, which had merchandising rights prohibited due to their arrangement with Lucasfilm, that you can buy a sweatshirt right now, Jim, online for Spaceballs 2.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. You can even wear it to the Comic-Con panel should you so desire.
There we go.
Yeah.
And yes, they've got a big Hall H thing, right? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Yes. Are you going to finish your thought about sequels coming out in 2027? Jesus Christ, let me go through it. We got Frozen 3. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem 2. We've got Beyond the Spider-Verse. We've got the Simpsons movie sequel. We've got Shrek 5. And Jim, the one you're most excited about. That's right, Animal Crackers 2. So, yes, we have a lot coming out next year.
Wow.
But we have some originals too, Jim. We have Gato. We have Ali, which is the Bong Joon-ho animated feature. We have Charlie versus the Chocolate Factory.
Sort of a sequel.
So, there's some originals too, but yes.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I mean, it's an original take on it. Yeah. So all there you go. Margie Claus by my buddy Kirk D'Amico. Yeah, there we go. We got some good ones. Yeah.
Cool. One final thought as we wrap up talking about Hotel Transylvania. Adam Sandler, The Efficient, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding didn't return to voice Dracula after Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation. That one went on to theaters July of 2018. Brian Hull, who's a relatively new guy in the voice acting community, stepped into that role for Monster Pets. That's the Hotel Transylvania themed short that was out ahead of Mitchell's versus the Machines, right? But same thing, that one didn't really get all that much of a theatrical distribution. That went out April of 2021, like a month after.
Yeah, I don't know what that was attached to or where it went. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But anyway, Hull then follows up that gig by replacing Sandler as the official voice of Dracula in Hotel Transylvania, which again, on Amazon starting in January of 2022. And I have to assume that ship sailed at this point, right? Sandler is not.
That's a great question. I was wondering the same thing. I don't know what. I don't know. I mean, if it's theatrical, will they bring him back? Although, I don't know. He's not. It's not like he's allergic to streaming, given his Netflix deal.
No, not at all. But it was kind of interesting, and it's, we can't really tell the stories we've heard about. Mr. Sandler on the earlier. So we're just going to leave that be there.
Yes.
Again, long story short, folks, the business has changed, and in fact, one example of how the business has changed is Disney Junior has just launched a brand new series for preschoolers, but the launch is not on that cable channel, but rather over on YouTube with a channel that's directly associated with this brand new property, Aussie Fox. And has a hell of a pedigree. I mean, it's the same team behind Wonder Pets, Little Bill, and Pagan Cat, and two music videos, The Floor is Lava, The Squeaky Clean Cleanup Game, and Potty Party Dance Break. Again, this thing has only gone live this past week, and it already has 800,000 views, and was chatting with a friend at Disney, and they just flat out said, look, this is where kids are now. They're on YouTube, and more to the point, parents know that. So we felt, let's launch this character there, and if this catches the way we think it will, that will help with the launch of the actual show when it finally shows up on Disney Junior. And evidently Disney was very, put a lot of thought into the first two films that were put up there. I want to say each about 3 minutes long, and one, and they're both issues that supposedly parents would be searching for on YouTube, and one is to how to get my kids to clean up after themselves and potty training. I will say this much, Drew, there is a somewhat controversial aspect in regard to Aussie Fox, because the Disney's partner on this project, Animage, is a French-based AI animation company. Are you hearing anything about this on your side of the fence, or?
No, I haven't. Although I've heard about a couple of projects that might have some AI components to them. So this does not surprise me, but this also might be why they are sort of soft launching it.
That's the other thing that was suggested, to the effect of we're literally launching it under the radar to make sure that, it doesn't go radioactive on us. But long story short, I mean, it's handsome looking. It definitely gives off a Bluey vibe. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over on Disney Junior with Ozzy Fox, this 5-year-old character. But anyway, we will have more animation news in a moment, including Drew's conversation with Nathan Greno. But before we do that, there's this.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is 0. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT, with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails. So every AI action is permission aware, giving you accuracy 24/7 and the ability to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
Now playing on Netflix, The Hawk. From the mind of Will Ferrell.
Oh, mama, I'm back!
Comes a new original series.
Get ready, get ready. That's it. Did I stutter?
When an iconic pro golfer...
Lonnie,
Hawk!
...takes one last swing at greatness.
You were a big shot golfer.
I still am a big shot golfer.
No one...
Dad, I'm the Hawk now.
...will stand in his way.
That's how it's done.
The Hawk. Now playing only on Netflix.
And we're back. All right, so we've talked a lot on previous editions of Fine Tuning about what Drew learned when he was over in France last month for this year's edition of the Annecy International Animation Film Festival. And is this where you first got to see the brand new Daffy short from Warner Brothers Animation, Daffy Season?
That is where I saw it. I think that was actually the world premiere, Jim. So, yeah, I mean, that was its grand debut. They debuted it during the Warner Brothers animation, or Warner Brothers Pictures animation presentation, and then they also showed it at the closing night festivities as well. And it played like gangbusters.
And this is the first brand new Looney Tunes short from Warner's in 14 years. And in fact, I think you probably recall the one prior to this. What is it? Daffy's Rhapsody went out with that Dwayne Johnson Mysterious Island movie.
Journey to the Mysterious Island.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And what was fascinating about that animated short is the folks at Warner Brothers had this recording, this novelty record that Mel Blanc had made back in 1950. So it's him at the height of his powers, voicing the character, but it was brand new CG animation to that recording. And whereas this is a wholly new thing, right?
Yes, this is new audio, new dialogue by our buddy Dave Bauza and those guys, and and the animation is really a beautiful kind of 2D 3D hybrid kind of style by our friends at DNEG, and it's just great. It's really, really great. And it's got a soccer theme because of the World Cup and everything. So, yeah.
Okay. But this is going to be in front of Cat in the Hat later this fall, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I got to say, when Nancy and I saw Moana this past Tuesday afternoon, again, 2-hour-long movie, I have to say I enjoyed the Cat in the Hat trailer more than I did Moana. So still very, very much looking forward to that, and the idea of getting a brand new Daffy short in front of that's killer. Also, on the show, typically, folks, we like to make you aware of animation-related stuff that's happening in and around Los Angeles, with particular eye to whether or not, Drew's out there on a panel or moderating something. So want to ask about that, Drew? Anything coming up this week or thereabouts? Or
nah, nothing this week that I can think of. But yeah, I know that I'm not totally. I missed one because I was asked very late to do this Nathan Greno thing. But yeah. As of right now, I don't have anything to promote. Yeah.
All right. Now, though that said, we're big supporters of Titmouse here on Fine Tuning, and you wanted to point out that they're partnering with Meow Wolf, right, to do an exhibition in LA later on this year, right?
Yeah. This is they've been working on it for so long. This is the new Meow Wolf project that takes over. It's taking over a theater here, and it's all themed to the movies and to Hollywood. And they've created original animation for this project, which is just really fascinating and exciting. And I've never done a Meow Wolf experience, Jim, so I'm very excited for this, even though I kind of don't understand what it is.
You got to get out to Vegas. You got to get to Area 15. It is just so cool. No, I'm excited that Titmouse is getting in bed with Meow Wolf. That's wow. So do we know what theater or when this is getting started?
I believe this is a theater over by LAX. My buddy Todd Martins has done a lot of reporting on this, but. Yeah, it's really exciting that they're going to be here. It seems long overdue, but
that's killer.
Cannot wait. Yeah,
and speaking of long overdue, we were talking about early on today's show about when Tangled first came out in theaters in November of 2010, and I remember getting to see that on the Disney lot, prior to release. And I remember talking with our friend Amy Astley about at the end of the movie, got up out of my seat and actually walked down toward the screen as the credits were rolling because, I wanted to see who had made this one because it was so much fun. It was so entertaining. And the last time I had done that, Drew, was back in 1989 when The Little Mermaid opened in theaters. So, I've been a fan of Nathan Greno's work forever, but as you were pointing, that prior to working on Disney's reimagining of the story of Rapunzel, he had done a stint working on Chris Sanders' American Dog, right?
Yeah, well, he was at Walt Disney Feature Animation Florida. That's where he started off in 1996.
Okay.
As an in-betweener, and then he graduated to a story department on Brother Bear, and then became head of story on what became Bolt. So we talked a lot about just what that was like, that he worked with Chris Sanders. Chris Sanders was one of the guys in the Florida studio. And then, what it was like kind of trying to figure out how to keep the things that made American Dog special, but then also adjust accordingly. And he said it was a real trick, and he's like, that movie is not perfect, but I'm really proud of where it got. And, I thought that was really great. I mean, it takes a lot to reflect on some of these things that are maybe a little bit difficult, but, he also had a movie that didn't go forward. So that also,
it's just, Drew's, of course, talking about Gigantic, which, kind of ironic. We're a couple of weeks out now from the start of the D23 Expo. And what was it, 2011? They had on the floor there at, in fact, they remember how at that expo they actually had the Beanstalk undercover until after the feature animation presentation, and then suddenly this piece of cloth was pulled back, and here's this Beanstalk reaching to the sky on the floor of the Anaheim Convention Center, and it periodically fee fi fo. I mean, and they were fully committed to that project at that time. I want to say, didn't the Lopez's come on stage and they played at least one song from the score?
Yeah, they showed animatics for a sequence.
That's right. And the producer Dorothy Kim was there, and everybody seemed so excited. And did Nathan talk about how it went off the rails, or
yeah? I mean, he said that he said actually that it was in a really good place when the plug was finally pulled, but that he had heard, and he does not know if this is true, but that Iger just did not think that a Jack and the Beanstalk movie was going to work. And so, yeah, I mean, he said it was incredibly hard. This is a guy who really works really hard and is also really creative, so I think that was a big blow to him. But obviously, what came of it ultimately was him moving to Skydance and getting to work with a lot of the people that made his life so fulfilling, whether it's Brad Bird or Don Hall or Rich Moore, who has a movie coming very soon. And he got to make Swapped, which is a huge hit. So it all worked out for the better. But, there's always a lot of students at these things, Jim, and he was kind of saying to do the more difficult thing, to do the thing that's harder, that's scarier, because it'll ultimately pay off much more. And that was what he was trying to impart about that transition from Disney to Skydance. So I thought that was a really nice message to have.
I don't know, absolutely. But more to the point, the fact that when you look at Swapped, when you look at the design, it would have been so easy with that story and that material to go with a much more conventional take on the material. And just, I find it fascinating that he chose not to go that route, that all of the animals that live in the world of Swamp are just fascinating, almost Dr. Seuss-like creations. Did he talk at all about the design of the project?
Well, he talked about, the fact that, when he hit upon this idea of a body swapping movie, because he wanted it to be about empathy and about, walking a mile in the other person's shoes, he went to John Lasseter and he said, I think there should be no people in this movie. And Lasseter was on board. I mean, that was sort of the beginning of it. And then he had to fashion the entire world out of that conceit of this being a world just exclusively full of creatures. And then that's where the whole kind of like documentary filmmaking kind of style came from. And, because it started off as a movie about teenage superheroes called Powerless. And it went through this incredible transformation to Puku and then ultimately Swapped. And yeah, I mean, there actually is an Art of book, Jim, that is out.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to say it's on my list. I want to say it's coming out later this month or early next month.
Yes, and we had copies at the event, so people got to get theirs signed early.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I just knew from watching the first Tangled. In fact, it speaks volumes. The other story that recently came out about Nathan that I love is that they had evidently a charrette where the original Tangled had made so much money, and so the company was we should make a sequel, and everybody go off and try to figure out what that story is. And Nathan was telling the story that they came out of the charrette, and it's like no. Just like we can't find a story worthy of a sequel, and let's just leave it lay. I mean, we did get the Rapunzel's Tangled Adventured series.
There was Tangled Ever After, which was the short.
And that was great fun.
Apparently, the short is as far as they got in development on the sequel.
Really?
They said, that's what he. It was like. Well, we have enough for this much, so let's just make it this, and they did, and it was great. And I think that was with the 3D re-release of Beauty and the Beast. I want to say.
There we go.
But he talked about what a pain and Tangled was, because that was a famously troubled production history, and apparently how he got involved, Jim, and you'll love this, was that one day. After a long day, he went out to drinks with Roy Conley, who is one of our guys, a wonderful person.
Absolutely.
And he just sort of casually said, well, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan said, oh, I would do this, and I would do this, and I would change this. And then that ended up with him getting the job, because apparently they had asked him to take over earlier, and he said no, because he didn't want to do the kind of Shrek-ish, with the Jack Black character in modern day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so he finally, he told this to Roy, which ended up kind of circling back and getting him the job and getting to make the movie he wanted to make. Because, as he said, I love Cinderella. I love these classic movies. And that's the kind of movie I wanted to make. And he wanted to make a fairy tale princess movie that was talked about in the same breath as those classics. And I think he did. I really think he did.
He did, but at the same time, there are so many crazily brave choices with Tangled, whether it's all of the guys at the Snuggly Duckling, or for that matter, to have the Mother Gothel as the first passive aggressive mom, and that coupled with Donna Murphy's amazing vocal performance. I mean, it's such a smart take on a Disney princess movie, but bringing it into the 2010s. I'm making it an audience that, or a movie that works.
He said that he wanted to make a movie for the past and for the future, which I thought was very telling.
No, and he delivered the goods. And
absolutely.
so I'm just thrilled that he's had this sort of success with Swapped, and without giving anything.
And he's in development on another feature at Skydance. So
all right, that was my question.
Good things are coming. Yes.
That is so cool. And speaking of good things, seriously, folks, if you're not already listening to Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast, you are just missing out on this great series that Drew and his co-host, the equally talented Charles Hood, did. There are nearly 300 episodes of this podcast, and in fact, I'm headed back down to Philadelphia this week to finally go check out that exhibit, the Universal exhibit at the Franklin Institute. And Drew and Charles will be with me in the car the entire time.
Good.
No. It's literally a great show to listen to while you drive. It's so many fun stories, so much cool information. And speaking of podcasts, we have a bunch of them here at Jim Hill Media. We hope you can find time to go listen to. We've got, of course, Disney-ish with Len Testa. Likewise, the Epic Universal podcast. That's the one I do with Eric Hersey. In fact, that's one of the reasons we're going to Philly. And while I'm there, I'll be hanging out with Eric's lovely bride, Lauren, who I do the I Want That Too. That's our Disney merch podcast. In fact, I want to say we're going to be making a special side trip out to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, because that's one of the last existing Disney stores on the planet. It is out there, Drew. And let's also not forget about other brand new show, Case 4 with Chris Cox. We just recorded a couple of new shows for that earlier this week. Let's see. Beyond that, speaking of new episodes, we have a brand new episode of Disney Unpacked that just went up on Patreon. This is our Small World show, and veteran Imagineer Jim Schull and I are already working on a follow-up episode for this series. In fact, this is the one we're doing about Pixie Hollow, where Drew is supposed to come on the show
and have a cameo.
There we go, and talk about what it was like to be working at the Glendale Creative Campus while Disney Toon Studio was up and running. Anyway, as we close up shop here, I want to thank Eric Hersey and David Gray for the great job they do with the editing and production of this podcast. Also, I have a quick favor to ask. If you folks could please head over to Apple Podcasts and, rate and review not just this show, but also Light the Fuse. That would be cool. All right, so we talked about no panels, no moderating this week, but just in case people want to be in the loop there, just in case something comes up, Drew, where can they find you on social media?
On X and Instagram at Drew Tailored, like a tailored shirt. And Jim, where can people find you?
Let's see. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram as Jim Hill Media, and then over as Facebook at Jim Hill Media News. And with that, folks, this week's edition of Fine Tuning is wrapped. On behalf of Ms. Taylor, I want to thank you for listening, and we will be back next week with a brand new show.